Welcome back to This Day Live, a Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me, I have Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos, and Jide Ologun, legal practitioner and national development advocate. Well, gentlemen, good to see you again today. Well, we've had two guests so far, Mr. Dankunle, an oil and gas expert, talking about latest developments in the downstream sector, namely the fact that the Naira for crude strategy endorsed by the Federal Executive Council and President Tinubu seems not to be working. Second, that Nigeria oil refiners and marketers, retailers, they've spent up to about 5.5 trillion naira importing fuel from elsewhere between October and January 2025, October 2024 and January 2025. And that in any case, the Dangote refinery that is supposed to provide 650,000 barrels of crude, of finished product, and also ensure self-sufficiency, energy security, help with solving forex problems, is not getting the 385,000 barrels agreed upon. Instead, it's getting, or is being told it will get 61,000 barrels per day. And all of those issues about, willing buyer, willing seller, market forces, and all of that. And he also talked about the planned increase in telecom tariffs, which you see Nigerians paying more for talking or for spending data. He thinks the 50% being proposed is even too low. It's not workable. That in fact, the increase should be up to about 150% because telecom companies are operating in a very difficult environment. Then we had Oba Oladiran Olaitan, the deputy leader of Afenifere, who was responding to some of the statements by Afenifere about state police, about the appointment of Dele Farotimi as National Organizing Secretary, and also about the demand of the Afenifere that Nnamdi Kanu is a political detainee, and therefore, in the spirit of unity and reconciliation, it should be released by President Tinubu. They made it clear that, well, he is from the Adebanjo faction, as opposed to the Fashoranti faction. But he says, no, there is no faction in Afenifere. It's just one family with different tendencies. And that all this will go away when a certain Machiavelli that is controlling Nigerian politics is no longer in power. And that Afenifere, all the tendencies will come together and coalesce. So these are some of the issues we talked about. The other issue with Oba Olaitan was about the Sharia in the Southwest. And he says, well, nobody is going to introduce any Sharia in the Southwest. All these are just part of the Machiavellian tactics and the politics of 2027. Professor Aworawo, let me start with you.
I will just go in the order in which the guests came and spoke on the different issues. Mr. Dankunle, as usual, very incisive, very clear in his position on many of these issues. To begin with, the oil thing, the question to ask is, when shall we ever get anything right? Because for so many years, the hue and cry was that a large chunk of our foreign exchange expenditure was on the importation of fuel. And hopes were high that when the Dangote refinery begins production, we'll be able to overcome that, and that should help to strengthen the Naira. The Dangote refinery, fair enough, took off after delays here and there, with capacity to produce enough if crude is supplied as requested. And then, even for export, there will be excess for export, in addition to all the other naphtha, polypropylene, and all the rest of them that are also exported. So that refinery was supposed to be a clincher, so to speak, in economic transformation. But the refinery has started work and agreements are reached regarding the supply of crude, which is expected to enable the refinery to function. Why is it not possible to supply less than 400,000 barrels of crude to the refinery so that we can have domestic production and, save ourselves the problem of and the tragedy of spending so much money on the importation of petroleum products, PMS, petrol and diesel. The other time when the refinery was about to start, and we had one of these heads of the downstream agencies of the NNPC saying that, we won't allow monopoly, we'll still be importing. I was very angry because I expected anybody in any of the NNPC subsidiaries, if it doesn't like monopoly, none of us likes monopoly, the follow-up comment should have been, we ensure that the Port Harcourt refinery is producing, Warri refinery is producing, so as to break the monopoly. But he didn't mention any of that. He said, we'll continue to import. And they've made good their promise to ensure that the Dangote refinery does not get what it wants, so they can continue to import 5.5 trillion naira in the past just couple of months. Why has President Tinubu not fired these people? I said if I were president, that man that said that thing, it won't last 1 hour. He will just be sacked. Because it is this group that is making it impossible for this domestic production that we all seek, that will all be in the interest of all of us, to take place. Why are they supplying just less than 100,000 barrels? Nigeria is now producing about 1.5, thereabouts, on the average.
1.8.
Well, I don't believe 1.8. I don't believe there is also a lot of falsehood. The figures we are getting from independent sources don't affirm 1. Let's just say 1.6 million barrels per day. And we can supply just 400,000 Dangote refineries so that we can have domestic production expanded and save ourselves the tragedy of these imports. Why do we want to always go and buy from the outside what we can get from within? So summing up in that is that President Tinubu should show more interest in what is happening in the oil sector. We have monies that should be used, scarce resources that we need for domestic for national development, frittered away by these few people who just don't want to let go of this, desire, propensity for importing, for whatever that means. Mr. Dangote also talked about the telecom. Well, I think 50% is fair, considering Nigeria. It's one thing to say 150%. If you put your word there, nobody is buying. You go home empty-handed. It has to be somewhere. What people can, affordability must be side by side. Meeting the cost of production and profit and all the rest. So I don't agree with Mr. Dangote because Nigerians are already too poor.
He also said NLC is part of the problem of Nigeria. This is NLC that has been fighting for ASU that they should pay.
How can NLC look?
Areas of
well, for once, I disagree with him that you 150, and the other side to it is this. Actually, the fundamental problem we are not addressed, and it will take quite some time. I have said severally that the crux of the problem we have revolve around those two key policies of government, floating of the naira. We needed one layer of government, rates, so that those who are manufacturing people to manufacture. Then the second, subsidy is gone. It shouldn't go all at once. It should have gone gradually, so that the productive sector can be viable. Now, these people have just calculated all of these things together and arrive at what Mr. Dangote is right to the extent that if the telecoms are to calculate their cost and everything, it could be up to that. But you must place affordability side by side the profit you want to make. That's why I think the 50%, people will still struggle even with the 50% to be able to. Nigerians shouldn't be this poor. And the poverty has revolved around those key policies. They can't reverse them, but I think it's a big problem. The policies are good, but that pattern of implementation is problematic. Finally, His Royal Majesty Lighton. I'll just comment on one of the several issues, and that is the Sharia. I'm just surprised that Nigerians are not tired of crisis. Why are they talking about Sharia? In 2000, when Yerima, as he then was, Zamfara governor, and some others started in the north, one of the key issues we raised was the fact that Section 10 of the International Constitution states that Nigeria is a secular state. And even if...
There shall be no state religion.
Yes, and even if some House of Assembly want to make a law along that line, it must not be contrary to the provisions of the Constitution. That was the position of many at that time, correctly so. But they went ahead, and 12 states in the north went ahead to adopt Sharia. We know the crisis that all of this generated. Why did they want to bring this to the Southwest? And they are even saying, they are speaking as if it has even taken off. Which state House of Assembly has even said, oh, we want the Sharia? So I agree totally with His Royal Majesty Lighton that those who are, for whatever reason, whether political or whatever, they should just let sleeping dogs lie. We already have too many crises in Nigeria to deal with, to come and add a fresh attempt to introduce Sharia in the Southwest to all of this.
Okay, Mr. Ologun.
Let me start from the Sharia introduction. I must commend His Royal Highness for the brilliant and very apt response, anchored on the fact that don't come and trouble our home. And on asking the question, who should be interested in all these adventures? I recall that around 2000 or 2002, one Mohammed Yusuf woke up in Maiduguri in the Borno state and started a doctrine that Western education is forbidden, Boko Haram. And I was one of those that came out to invite the attention of the government that come. The first question that should come to you as government is, what does education represent? It represents civilization, light, development. And somebody is indoctrinating people to say, let's go against civilization, let's go against development. Where are we heading? And in 2009, when the government responded and the leader was taken out, we saw the violence that broke out. And here we are today. It has become a hydra-headed issue. And the attempt to introduce insecurity crisis to the Southwest did not just start with this attempt to introduce Sharia. I recall also in the season of the former governor of Ondo State, Akeredolu, who came up with the idea of the security apparatus. There were bandits in the forest in Ondo State, and the governor said, no, we are not going to allow it. The then Attorney General of the Federation rose up, and some others, to tell us about freedom of movement in Nigeria. And nobody is saying they are not free to move, but they are not free to propagate their violence. Let there be control. So, and that is why some of us were asking that it may be that the sponsors of insecurity in Nigeria, and it's either they are more powerful than the laws we have, or you don't just want to pay attention. So I'm glad, and kudos to the Southwestern leaders. I have alluded to when a group also got inspired to say they're agitating for the Odua nation or whatever. The elder said, no, we are not going to allow this. Our region should not be allowed to become a bloody theater, whether it's for 2027 or not. What I know is that peace is the hub around which development rotates. And he also has come out to express position of affairs. When you look at the personnel of the Amotekun, and if you come to Lagos State, we have the neighborhood watch, we have different kinds of security apparatus that we have on ground. Why don't you move beyond this issue of unitary security control in the country? And the governors are in support, and I hope the National Assembly will give it the oxygen it requires, and that is on the side of security. And talking about the hike in the tariff for telecoms, I quite agree. If you sit in the boardroom looking only at the angle of investors and investment and returns on investment. Yes, you can even say it should be 200% increase. But who is to blame for the unfriendly business environment we have in the country? And that's why also I am advising the focus of NLC and other groups should be in that direction. If we have a friendly business environment where the cost of doing business is not so high, then there won't be the need for the investors. I feel for the investors too, to start coming out to say we must increase the tariff. And right now, we don't even know if these services are available or not, talking about the erratic performance that we have. And please, the government should realize or perhaps go and study the provisions of Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that says the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. Like Professor Aworawo said, Nigerians are already groaning under different kinds of weight. You talk about band A and band B and different kinds of imposition of burdens on them. So please, but we are waiting to see what happens on the 4th of February. The NLC is planning to roll out. So that is that. A vibrant and friendly business environment will scale down the cost of production and invariably impact the market when we talk about market forces. And that takes us to NNPC. You see, I was compelled to go and look at the mandate of NNPC. And it says harnessing Nigerian oil and gas resources for sustainable national development. You see, and through that, you explore, you produce, you refine, you market, you retail the petrol products. And NNPC, according to history, was established on the 1st of April, 1977. I think I was in my final year in primary school then. And the intention is to bring prosperity to the people. But where are we today? I'm not surprised. I expected Dangote to go through what he's going through now. But I put all this on the table of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. He spoke, and brilliantly so, that sell crude oil to Dangote in exchange for Naira. But in project management, you also follow through your instructions. And it's a good thing Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president, is the substantive minister in charge of petroleum in Nigeria. And so it's either you are for the people or you are for the little group that are benefiting so much, because the virtues are obvious. Why will you have such a huge investment and want to frustrate that investment? And it has brought something to the fore now, that the euphoria and the celebrations of Port Harcourt refinery coming on stream, and then that of now, let's see the action now. You see, because 5.5 trillion naira in 4 months is no joke. So there's an attempt to frustrate. And Dangote has been trying. At the time, he scaled down the price and everything. And some investors who have been conditioned under industrial psychology to a way of driving revenue at the expense of national development are hell-bent on frustrating this progress. But I think the president, I believe he means well for his citizens. Like someone suggested, and I think Dan Kunle also suggested it, the president can call NNPC, call Dangote, all of them together, and resolve this matter. I mean, under Section 5 of our Constitution, he holds the executive power. Because the masses are growing, the businesses are growing, and we do not deserve it at all, given the resources God has given us. So when you link all this together, whether you are talking about insecurity, or you are talking about tariff, or you are talking about the management of our oil and gas, it's all about trying to put us back on the path of prosperity. And I think the government should do everything possible to do that and frustrate those who are out to frustrate that system. I don't know why you will find an opportunity to make progress and you want to hinder that opportunity from manifesting. And those are my submissions in the interim.
Okay, fair enough. But let's take a foreign subject. Let's go to the U.S. President Donald Trump, who is, permanently in the news now for obvious reasons, has invoked emergency sanctions to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports, along with an additional 10% duty on Chinese goods. Trump justifies his action as part of efforts citing efforts to curb fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid used medically to treat severe pain, especially for cancer patients, and illegal immigration into the U.S. Legal and trade experts argue that the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, has never been used for tariffs, predicting swift court challenges that could set major legal precedents. Well, what we also know is that when those tariffs were imposed yesterday to take effect on Tuesday, China has said, well, they will go to the WTO. So there will be a trade dispute, if not trade war. Mexico, through President Sheinbaum, has said, look, it's pure slander to say that the Mexican government is in cahoots with criminal organizations that are bringing illegal drugs into the United States. That Trump should worry more about the illegal arms and ammunition guns that are brought down south from the United States. The Canadian government has responded swiftly, slamming the United States with about $155 billion worth of tariffs on goods, starting with $30 billion on Tuesday. 21 days later, the balance of $125 billion would be imposed. Canada has about 60% trade volume with the United States. Mexico, Canada, China, between the three of them, they do about 40%. But the more disturbing part is that the analysts are saying that this is going to drive up inflation in the United States and that the cost of everything will go up. But Trump is adamant. He says anybody that retaliates, he will impose more tariffs. So what we face is a possibility of an emerging global trade war. Let me come back to you, Mr. Ologun, before I go to Professor Aworawo.
See, Donald Trump made a lot of promises, and actively so, he's engaging them. But he also has admitted that this may have a repercussion on his own citizens in terms of the inflationary drive. And like Doctor said, Canada has responded swiftly. And China is going through the storm in a more refined manner, saying we'll go to the World Trade Organization to help us intervene in this. And I think what Trump is just trying to do is reposition America as a business giant, but also you should look inwards at the effect on his citizens, because no country stands alone. And talking about Mexico, that war has been on before now. He has not even started talking about the wall he intends to build between Mexico and America. But I think those issues that are bothering him, the issue of bringing drugs into America and the illegal immigrants, they are sacrosanct. But then it's not going to operate alone. We have the Congress and other stakeholders that can tame him, including the judicial system. But by and large, we've seen a politician who made promises and is acting on those promises. But I hope that he will measure 10 times before cutting once, rather than measuring once before cutting 10 times. Because when you shake the table too much, there will be other alliances coming up. In the West African hub right now, some countries have departed from ECOWAS, saying we are forming our own bloc. And going down history, no nation really reigns forever. So I wish Trump the best and the United States of America, but definitely the battle lines are drawn I don't want to call it trade war outrightly right now, but the conflicts are there, and I hope it should be resolved in the interest of all parties, because finally, too, what happens at moments like this is for everybody to come together as, okay, how can we strike the balance? We experienced it in Nigeria when we were talking about, is it the fee for applying for visa or whatever. We escalated as America escalated theirs until we came to a point where we agreed on a reasonable fee. So we are monitoring, but Trump is in action.
Prof.
I just smile when I see what Trump does or what Trump is doing. He's so childish. How does imposing of tariff stop illegal drug smuggling? There is no relationship. Between US and Mexico, we have had drugs coming to the US from Mexico and arms going the other direction. They've, over the years, cooperated to try to handle that with a measure of success. If illegal drugs are being smuggled, you don't impose tariff on the other country. You work with them to ensure that no country wants cartels, illegal cartels to, function freely. You work together and then, you handle these things as security, as a security issue. And usually when they collaborate like that, they achieve results. So imposing tariff, how does it stop illegal drug, smuggling? It's so, I'm ashamed. If I were an American, I would be so ashamed. Myself and one of my former students, Susan is saying, we did a study on this trade war between the United States and China during Trump's first coming, his first term, his first 4 years. And the result of the study reveals that the negative impact of the tariff was as intense on the US as it was on China, which was why in the last year of Trump's presidency, he started working back on those tariffs. They should have learned from that. The other question is America now a one-man show? Before policies are arrived at, are there no robust discussions, analysis, so as to determine what the effects will be? Somebody just wakes up on the wrong side of the bed one day and he just goes out and starts announcing and he says he makes promises. Well, the good thing is that, just as President Ologun has said, the negative impact will be as more on the US, the inflation will go up, as it will be on Mexico and it won't last long. The Americans will so shout because the Americans don't have that capacity for that shock that here that we endure, and they don't endure a lot. The other time when fuel price went up a bit, they say pain at the pump. Pain at the pump. Biden had to do something, give some incentive to companies, and the price, good. So I don't see it as something that would last for a long time. It's the Americans themselves that would, create the environment for these tariffs to be. It's a bad policy, and I'm surprised that in 2025, one leader can just wake up and say, the way to curb illegal drug trade is to impose tariff. It simply doesn't make sense.
Well, the Mexican president says dialogue, not tariffs. And the Chinese, they have also issued a statement saying that when you have a tariff war, there will be no winners. It's not, everybody will lose.
Absolutely.
They cannot be more correct. Professor.
Professor Kijera. Anyway, let's come back to Nigeria. Something that affects all of us. The Nigerian police on Saturday began the enforcement of the third-party insurance policy for drivers across the country. Police commissioners in several states, including Lagos, Kogi, and Akwa Ibom, had informed residents that they will commence enforcement in compliance with the directive of the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun. In a statement, the Kogi State Commissioner of Police, Mila Dantawai, ordered strict adherence to the IG's directive across the state, adding that the exercise aims at enhancing road safety and ensuring that vehicle owners comply with insurance regulations. And also in Lagos, the CP, Ishola, has also said they will start enforcing. At the federal level, the Force Police PRO, Olumiwa Adejobi, has also issued a statement that social media commentators should be very careful not to misinform or mislead the public, that it is not true that what the police is planning to do is to rake in additional revenue, that it is all about enforcing the law and ensuring the right of third parties. Well, I don't know whether the two of you have a third-party insurance papers.
You should ask whether we have comprehensive. I thought
Where is that?
It was not third party.
But third party does not cover the owner of the vehicle.
Yes.
It covers the other party.
Exactly.
But let me start with you, Prof.
Well, it's what the law says, really. So they are not doing anything outside the law. So It's just in order. And it's not so expensive, really. It's not
15,000.
Yes.
It's actually the minimum.
It's not so expensive. What I would also like to see is that if there is some accident, the insurance companies would ensure that the third party is taken care of. Most of the time, people just move on because of the bureaucracy of making claims. People just move on because this will bring huge revenue to insurance companies. Huge. Not to the, adults. If you go and pay, it's not the police you pay to. You obtain it from an insurance company. Well, so it's insurance companies.
You are very sure that the insurance companies will also pay claims?
That is what I would want to see, because people it's only when it's comprehensive, yes, people want to follow up, but once it is third party, people just settle themselves and move on. They don't want that, complicated process, going to insurance, writing back and forth, and no. Comprehensive people follow, third party don't. Now that they are insisting that everybody must ensure that it gets third party insurance, I want to see more people make claims on the basis of what they have paid for or what the insurance they have obtained from different insurance companies. There is no big deal. It's not so huge that people can afford. Company, vehicle owners should just go ahead. It is what the law says, and it's not something that people cannot. That is unattainable, for motorists.
Mr. Ologun.
Thank you very much. I have enjoyed the benefits of insurance for many years, and particularly comprehensive insurance, which I consider as investment, not even cost. But on this, I think we need to do more of orientation and educating the people on the benefits of insurance. And I see huge revenue coming in for the players there, particularly in Lagos. I'm concerned about all those Korokwe and the public transporters around. And also for you to know that it covers third-party liabilities when accidents happen. And on the issue of the police enforcement, I will also like to request that they should also righteously implement the laws. And when we talk about the legal framework, if you look at Section 68 of the Insurance Act 2003, the penalty is 1 year imprisonment or about 250,000 naira or both together. And the law managing insurance should also be upscaled. We also have the Section 312 of the 1945 Motor Third Party Insurance Act. So, in
America.
Yes,
2004, right?
Exactly. And you see, in America, accidents can be found sometimes if you are fortunate to survive, because the next question is, you got insurance? And if the answer is yes, there's no fighting, no beating each other. And so your insurance company takes over from there. And on the issue of claims, I don't think I have complaints, but many complain that insurance companies are not forthcoming. And I just want to say that this is one of the steps that may further sanitize our environment, because if some reckless drivers on the road realize that they have insurance responsibilities, they may behave in a better manner, but we are waiting to see the implementation, and I hope that the police will not be overwhelmed, because I can let us know that quite a number of the citizens in this country, are not interested in even registering their vehicles, talk less of insurance. And we also have some insurance agencies that are off the radar, quacks, because those touts who handle vehicle registration can generate their own third-party insurance documents from somewhere, and it may take the police to. So we need to fine-tune the implementation and ensure that we bring this into part of our culture, and it never hurts to ensure.
And we also hope that the police will not turn this into an opportunity for extortion or the harassment of motorists, and that the leadership of the Nigeria police will be very firm in dealing with such errant policemen that may see this as an opportunity for extortion. Now, let's talk about something that will come up next week. Ahead of the commemoration of the World Cancer Day on Tuesday, Project Pink Blue, a health and psychological trust center, has claimed that Nigeria records no fewer than 125,000 fresh cancer cases annually. The center called on the federal, state governments and the private sector to invest in advanced cancer technologies, precision medicine and medical equipment instead of just building hospitals. The theme for this year's World Cancer Day is United by Unique. In Nigeria and other middle-level countries in the global south, cancer is still mostly regarded as a death sentence because of the cost-intensive nature of its treatment. Finding a cure for cancer is also proven a bridge too far for humanity, though there have been many false dawns over the years. World Cancer Day is on Tuesday. In fact, the estimate is even that out of the 250,000 cases annually, about 79,000 Nigerians die as a result of cancer, different types of cancer. But it's about, the theme is United by Unique, placing emphasis on family care, taking good care of persons that are involved. But government has a responsibility. How many cancer diagnostic centers, for example, do we have in Nigeria? And why is the cost of cancer treatment so high, as is the case also with even basic ordinary ailments in a country where, out-of-pocket spending is what drives the healthcare system. No insurance for the most part. Professor, let me start with you.
Well, I'm happy that we have, private groups, NGOs that are drawing attention to cancer and what needs to be done to reduce the cases, and what also people need to know to be able to manage cancer. People survive cancer. There are many cancer survivors all over the world, which comes to the point you made about cancer diagnosis. That's why the mortality rate is so high, because not many Nigerians go for medical checkup, and really for cancer. And so most of the time, when the cancer thing is detected, the person will have been feeling sick from the cancer, category 3, thereabouts. That is why it's like death sentence. When it gets to that level, the chances that medical intervention would make the person survive are almost zero. And what that means is that at different levels, there's need to do more. Enlightenment campaign, the need to go for checkup. Even people who can afford it sometimes don't take it seriously. And these are things that this kind of campaign should draw attention to. But to conclude, the question is often asked, what causes cancer? Maybe we should also pay attention to some of those things that have come to be established as causes of cancer. If we can also stay away from those things, so that because that's the best way really, if we can avoid getting it. But that has not occupied a lot of attention in advocacy. They only talk about manage, care. Aren't there things that people can do so that cases of cancer can reduce drastically? I think between now and Tuesday, and even on Tuesday when the World Cancer Day is celebrated, attention should be drawn to this. We should talk about those things we know that cause cancer and what we can do to take ourselves away from them. In that way, from multiple channels, the multi-track approach will help us to be able to deal more with cancer than we have done until now.
Well, Mr. Ologun.
Yeah,
we've heard it. Early detection, advocacy, public enlightenment.
Exactly.
Prevention.
And for us to focus on prevention, because there's a lifestyle that can also help you not to be knocked down by this.
Like smoking cigarettes, for instance.
Consumption, excess consumption of alcohol. Then your diet also, look for fruits and veggies that can detox your body, and we can learn about all this. So it's really about enlightenment and then being proactive, and for the stakeholders also to provide the infrastructure should the need arise. Health should be more affordable for the citizens.
Okay, very quickly, let's just take another topic. This time, Democratic Republic of Congo. 773 bodies have been reported to have been deposited in hospital morgues in and around the eastern Congolese city of Goma as of January 30, following this week's offensive by Rwandan-backed M23 rebels. The Democratic Republic of Congo's health ministry said on Saturday. Morgues are overfilled and more bodies are lying on the street, the ministry said. It added that 2,880 wounded were recorded between January 26 and January 30. The Tutsi-led M23 rebels on Tuesday seized Goma, East Congo's largest city and the capital of North Kivu province, which is home to lucrative gold, tantalum, and tin. Well, a humanitarian crisis is also erupting in that country. People have no access to light. They have no access to basic facilities. The hospitals are overfilled. The M23 is advancing towards Bukavu, the second largest city in eastern DRC. They are threatening to get to Kinshasa, as happened when Mobutu Sese Seko was removed, despite the fact that Kinshasa is about 2,700 miles away from the eastern part of that country. And then there's some conflict between South Africa and Rwanda in the matter. And the international community has called for ceasefire, but it appears that the international community is either overwhelmed or it is helpless. Prof.
It is really, really, really saddening. It's a tragedy. M23 will not be that strong if it doesn't have support, especially of Rwanda. Rwanda is an African country. Kagame is African. It is true that that eastern part has a large number of Tutsi, the same ethnic group that is dominant in Rwanda. And one would reason that accounts for the support that the Rwandan government is giving to M23. But can these things be discussed, negotiated? Even when the colonialists were here, for the most, independence was negotiated. Why can't these things be negotiated? And besides, M23 is now advancing beyond where Tutsi are to other places. And so it is not difficult to even justify the support for M23 and M23's advancement along this line. The African Union needs to do a lot more. It's an African problem, and the West always says when things come like that, an African solution for an African problem. I expect the AU to come and then call all the factions and see what can be done. The Westerners will always be interested because there's minerals to mine illegally in the place. And since independence, Congo has been at war, mainly because of these minerals. Moïse Sombe, Joseph Kasavubu, Patrice Lumumba, they knocked their heads together, and then that place has been in crisis since then, and these illegal miners are just mining. The African Union needs to do something, and very urgently too, to address this problem.
Quickly, Mr. Ologun.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And some ask the question, who caused Africa? About 40% of the total resources in the world, God has deposited in Africa. And it's so pathetic what is going on in this Democratic Republic of Congo. And again, you need to look at the leader of the rebellious group, because in that region there are about 100 armed rebellion groups. His case is also that he helped this government to come into office, and he has not secured the protection he expected from them. And he's using his influence to advance in this campaign, and with the support of Rwanda, which though Rwanda is trying to deny in a way, we can see what is going on. And the fear is that they may take over the airport that is close to Goma, that they have taken over right now. But the big question is that when will Africa wake up? I listened to a narrative that the Western world will never repent from disorganizing Africa for the sake of what they get from Africa, that even the superior civilization they try to portray to Africans is created by African wealth. And I ask a simple question, away from DRC, that there is gold in Ghana. Is there a palace decorated by gold in Ghana? And yet Buckingham Palace is decorated with gold. So Africa needs to wake up and enjoy the good of the land.
On that note, Mr. Ologun, I would like to thank you very much. Professor Aworawo, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. From my entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.